shit. Okay. Alright. Okay, can you guys hear me this time? Let me see. Am I streaming? From the top. Alright, and we're live. Okay, here we go. Here we go. You can hear me? Yes, okay. Your desk sounds. Well. Hopefully that means you can also hear me. I see the things moving. So, alright. If I can get this refresh. Alright. Hey Rory, what's up, man? Okay, so, yeah, from the top. I'm gonna get woozy real fast, 'cause it's actually very warm in here. There's a lot to recap, is basically what it comes down to, because I haven't streamed in a while. It is currently 8:18 p.m. It is June 17th, 2019. We are still wrapping up Kine. We actually were pretty close, to be honest. I did lose my artist. Last week was E3, and I lost all my artists for the week, for the most part. Which was fine, because a lot of the stuff I kind of had to get out in front of them for some things. But I've been doing a combination of several things. I've been porting the game to different platforms. There was just a whole lot of UI rework that had to happen there. For that, I don't remember if the options screens were here last week, but I stubbed in this. For the options screen, all this stuff like scales up and down and shit. There's still going to be some work to do there. All of the getting it so that when this game is on different platforms with different resolutions or different monitor resolutions, the dialogue doesn't go off the screen. Different bugs like that and things like that. A large amount of art stuff. While the artists were gone, I went in and I if you recall a couple streams ago, like I had a bunch of little bits that I had to add to the scroll sections. I finally did that. Where is that? You can see the new icons, by the way. The artist got in some icons for me. Sweet. So I modeled a couple of extra ones. First off, because I didn't have enough, and second off, because I needed some kind of add-on things that would indicate some amount of the grid space and negative space. I was playing through and I was having difficulty. This level is a good example. I was difficulty parsing how far away things are. Like, if you look into this negative space, it's hard to say, okay, there's 3 grid tiles here and 1 here. And you don't really need it here, but, like, here you needed to see something. And so I kind of, like, modeled some new pieces here. And the artists have just done a pass in that I'm seeing for the first time right now. And I modeled things like this so that there'd be places where I could indicate, like, this is 1 grid tile. I don't know how effective this is, but I think it'll help with readability a little bit. That was some work I did. They made this stuff real. I don't remember last time I streamed was... I'm sorry to say I've been really bad about this. It was like 2.5 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago-ish. And I don't remember if, like, this was done before I had modeled in a proxy thing for the backdrop, and I had modeled in proxy, like I had basically taken this and kit bashed together a bunch of pieces, and I handed all that proxy art off to the artists, and they gave me back this. Like, we did a couple of revisions back and forth, but for the most part, this was actually almost entirely them for the backdrop. Like, they came up with the idea for the sandbags and did a lot of good stuff here that doesn't quite, it's clipping, but whatever. Yeah, and they pretty much just took what I gave them here and made it a lot cleaner. We did have to go through, I wanted some kind of base, so they did have to do an extra pass where they made the bases kind of like have a little lip, and I had to go through and kind of like clean up a lot of that stuff, but that was only like half a day. So that was a big thing that happened. Loads of bug fixing, loads of things, because I'm trying to get to content lock. My goal was to get to content lock by the end of this week, because Monday I'm going on vacation for about a week, so a week from now I'm going on vacation for a week. And when I get back, I want to be only doing QA, loc, bug fixing. The script is locked, the script is done. When I get back, I'm going to be localizing that. Just all the crap you do leading up to launch. There's just a lot there. More porting work is going to begin being a thing very soon to the different platforms. I'm just lining everything up. Like, basically you kind of get the game done and then you have a couple months of just bullshit work. So I'm just trying to clear the way for that work. On my vacationing, I'm going to the UK. I'm going to a music festival called Glastonbury out in the UK. It's like... It is actually the biggest festival in the world. We don't really have... This is hard to explain to people who are American because we don't have a proper festival culture here. Like here we have Coachella, which is kind of like you get a beer and you stay back and like, oh, you've been? All right, cool. You know, you're not American. Yeah. Yeah, I'm prepared. I've been there before. I haven't been there during the really bad ones. I went year before last and it was not that bad. But it's a good time, definitely. I'm going, one of the people in my group, Saffron, she hasn't been for like, she went once a very long time ago. And I don't think she's like quite prepared for how much bigger it is yet. We haven't really warned her. Like she went when she was 18 and now, so it must have been like 15 years ago. That's funny. It's definitely huge now. You know, gonna keep me out of the country. Yeah, it's gotten huge, man. It's a trip. I love it. I had a great goddamn time. I had a great time for so many reasons. One of them is just like, that was the first time my idea of like, how do I put it? I think when you're American, the only people you meet that are British, especially me, are very well educated, usually people who are working in like professors or some shit like that. Like posh people tend to come to America from the UK. And so you have this idea in your head that everybody in the UK is like super posh. And I went to, and then I went out there and I was like in the mud with a bunch of like, just, it's a trip. It's a different group. It's a very, very different group out there. I loved it. Oh, God. Found myself, oh, man. I just have so many stories from Glastonbury. It was like a year and a day. It was unbelievable. Like, I remember at one point, I went to see the Dead Kennedys, and I've never actually been in a proper mosh pit before. And, like, there are these... And there's a mosh pit, and then there's a mosh pit with, like, Irish hooligans, and I don't think I was quite prepared for that. Like, I was just clinging to the rail at the front while people were just beating the shit out of each other behind me. There's this really, really drunk, burly Irish dude that's got his arm there. He's like, hold on to the rail, lass! And he's screaming, listen to the lyrics! And he's trying to explain at, like, the top of his voice the point of the songs and Dead Kennedys, like, reliving his youth. This, like, burly 50-year-old Irishman at the front of the show. Oh, my God. Like every single set, every single thing at Glastonbury was just nuts. Oh my God. I have so many stories from Glastonbury. It was such a good time. At one point I just got swept up in a crowd and I don't know what everybody was saying, but I was just kind of like murmuring with it because I felt like we were, like, have you ever had this moment where I'm like, whoa, well, there's a mob, so I don't want to be going against the mob, so I guess I'm in it now. And so I was just walking down the street going, and I know now what they were saying was, oh, Anthony Corbin, just like rolling down the side there, and I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I didn't know that was a dude's name or anything. I was just like in the mob, really having a good time with it. Drunk out of my mind. It was a really good time. The muddy years you were there, everyone was covered in mud apart from the guy who was spotless, wearing a top hat, a thong, and nothing else. Yes, that sounds right. The glitter. I was, loads of glitter. Just in general, festival culture is like a whole thing out there. You guys have a good goddamn time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. This time I'm not, how do I put it? So I like hiking and camping and stuff. So I approached this like the last time I approached it the same way I would approach like a camping trip. Like I packed everything, you know, like I found a good spot. Like I brought like my friend a solar shower. I'm like, I'm like a fucking prepared like an Eagle Scout. Like this is a camping thing. And I get there and it's just like everything's going to get trashed. Everything's covered in mud. It doesn't realize like It doesn't matter. Uh, this time, plus I'm so busy crunching on Kine, I just couldn't handle the prep this time. So I'm not gonna lie, I got a TP. Like I'm cheating. Feels like I'm cheating. But I'm just gonna like be one of those people staying up on the staying up on the hill in a pre-built tent. Hey Sniper, I'm doing good, man. No, I mean we have festivals, but it's super different in ways that are hard to explain. And there's things I prefer about American festivals. Like I like that. How do I put it? I did always think it was strange whenever somebody from overseas came to a festival in America. They kind of like trashed everything. And now they've been to Glastonbury, I get it. Like, or not trashed everything. In America, there's a huge culture of for festivals and things like this. If you take out what you bring in, leave no trace, take care of the land, kind of thing, which is not necessarily the prevailing opinion. I get the sense in Europe. So in a way, I think that's better. Like we're very careful about trash, and we don't, everybody picks up after themselves. Like festivals here, I think are nicer in that way. Whereas in Glastonbury, people are like urinating on the ground everywhere and shits like it's, you just trash the place. It's just a party. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. Too drunk to be careful. Yeah, that's the other thing is the drinking culture is different at festivals. I almost think like if you want to, I think you would be extremely disappointed if you went to Coachella if you're used to a festival over in Europe, because like they're gonna make you stand behind a velvet rope to drink a beer, and like they're gonna, like it's just gonna be a very different experience. It's not better or worse. It's just very, very different. Um, the headmaster was a brother of Michael Eavis. But yeah, I don't know how to explain it. There was just so many interesting people and things and like weird little art installations. It was like Burning Man feels like a thing for rich people to do in Silicon Valley, whereas this is like actual insane people. Like 90% of it's a party. They have this one thing. You go up to this over by the stone circle. You can, if you like can figure out this one puzzle and follow the white rabbit, there's a little hidden jazz club that's just like, that only opens at midnight and is open from like midnight to 4 a.m. or some shit, with just like the best jazz music ever, but you gotta find it and it's literally underground over by the stone circle. I didn't figure it out last time. But like there's that. There's the fact that there's 9 fucking main stages. It's the biggest festival in the world. It's a small city that springs up overnight. It's just insane that this thing exists. The smaller festivals are better. There was one called Big Chill years back that was much nicer. Then it got bigger. Then it got ruined. Then it got bankrupt. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like both. I definitely like both. This one's good for the spectacle of it. This one's just, I don't know how many Glastonburys I'll go to. But the spectacle of it, the sheer insanity of it, the sheer number of people, the diversity of the music is insane. Like, this year, hold on, who are they? Jeff Goldblum is bringing his jazz band this year. Which we're going to listen to now while we talk, because I'm low-key hyped about this. Alright, lady, we don't care. Okay, no talky talk. Fucking Jeff Goldblum is gonna be there performing jazz music. How could you not be excited about this? He's good too. I was listening to his album earlier. Yeah, man. I don't know why he's not a fucking headliner. Oh my god. I'm getting pretty hyped about this. Alright, are we gonna work today? Should I work today? I'm really tired. Let's look at my insane list. There's no frowning when Jeff Goldblum is playing. Here's an easy, stupid task. Let's do this one. No. What do we want to do? Here's one that might be hard. Okay. The Sunday afternoon lunchtime slot is actually the best of the whole festival. I hope so, man. It's gonna be my favorite part of this whole thing. This is probably, I know it's stupid, this is the thing I'm most excited about. They actually have a lot of good jazz music this year. I was pretty surprised. They're really bringing it. Yes, sorry. I'll get back to work. We'll leave Jeff alone. Oh, you liked it, Sniper? Okay. Here's a question that I don't have an answer to. The icons, like all the other images, when they scale up and down, don't get this kind of aliasing, except for these new icons. And I wonder, is it because they're not a power of 2? I don't know if I want to figure it out. Alright, but that's not what I want to do right now. Let's focus. So if we go to, I'm trying to find a good one to illustrate the problem. Let's see if this one's good. This one's not good for this problem. I need one where he is on her head. So like, I don't know, what's this one look like? Okay, this one will be good. So when Quat is on Rue's head, see how like she's dancing and bobbing up and down and he's just kind of floating there? We can do better than that. We're better than that. We can do better than that. We're gonna make him bob with her. What has to happen to make that happen? I think. So he's attached to, oh, I have another bug I have to fix there. So he's attached to, the problem is there's technically no appendage on her head, right? Let's take a look here. Player. Robot. Okay. Socket 6. Nothing, just there for sound effects. Okay. So okay. Let's find that appendage. Nothing, accordion sound effects. So we have an actual skeleton mesh for this. I'm glad you like it, Sniper Echo. We do. Oi. No planning. Hold on. They had National Opera performing Flight of the Valkyries as a pop festival. Yeah, Glastonbury works hard to like have absolutely everything. I'm trying to remember what they had last year. Like, I think I usually split from the group several times just because I don't know. It's more fun to for stuff like this. I just enjoy wandering around quite a bit. I think I don't remember what one of the major sets was on Friday night, but I randomly decided to like go see Taylor Swift instead. I think. Oh wait, who is the one that? Oh yeah, I remember. So I was there. There's two. It is different being an American at Glastonbury because no Americans go to it. Everyone there is European, and so bands like Run the Jewels. I'm having a great like I work out to Run the Jewels sometimes, so I'm having like a great fucking time dancing to this, and it's just no one else is dancing. Like everyone is just completely stationary while this one American bitch is just wiling out in the corner. Or who else? It was weird to me that like nobody there knew it. Goldfrapp was surprisingly empty compared to everything else. I just think the musical tastes are just different. How many of us are going? This crew is... My one friend couldn't... We have a couple of maybes, because one of my friends is trying to immigrate to America right now from the UK and like is afraid to leave America. So she's a pretty strong maybe. She was like debating getting married to stay in America. Or to get a green card so she could go to... or whatever. So got one maybe, and this year about 5 firm yeses. Yeah, Band and Sheep. Those are the two. Like I like all music for the most part, but like those were the two where I was just like, most places everybody was drunk and dancing a lot, and those were the two where I was kind of like alone. Those and like I will say the people I usually go with. There's a couple that just had a baby, so they're not going this year, but they go to like all of them, and they're way into just into DJ sets, like way into techno and DJ sets and stuff. And so I remember last time I went to Glastonbury, like we did Glastonbury, and then we recovered for a couple days in Lisbon, and then we went to Berlin, and I'm just like, I'm done. Like I don't need to do more partying. And they're like, but we're in Berlin. So they were going to all the clubs and staying out until like 6 a.m. I'm like already too old for this. So the one thing I will say that my friends are way into that I'm not is usually like the techno DJ sets. Like I can do a couple of those, but it's not like my favorite thing in the world. All night, every night, you know? But there's just so much to see there. There's just so much different music. Oh god, I'm excited. I also haven't really spent a lot of time studying the schedule, so I'm just gonna get more excited as I found one of those Glastonbury like Spotify playlists. I'm just listening to it as I work all day. Hey Root Lancer, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I saw in the Glade last year. I didn't spend much time there, and I didn't spend. There's an area I think is mostly for kids. It was like a circus or something. I guess it's not mostly for kids. They also had like beat poetry and like random ass shit over there. I didn't check out that area much. Aphex Twin is going this year, I think. Yeah. At least I remember somebody talking about that in my like group chat thing. No, it's okay. I have been working a lot. I kind of super want to be distracted. That's why I'm streaming. It's also why I didn't stream before. It's because I was trying to get a lot of stuff done. So, you're allowed to distract me. People watching this later on YouTube will learn nothing, but I think I've warned everybody multiple times. This is not educational. I don't think you should be here to learn. I have no fucking teaching plan syllabus thing here. So, I don't remember how I set this up. I think there's just this... I have an appendage that does nothing. So there's a mesh. Appendage nothing. Let's see if that's actually in the my file, or if I'm just being crazy. secret stuff. Art source player. You're blocked. That sucks. I have a thing right now where, like, so Elmore and I were trying to figure out how we're going to do the ports, because they're doing the ports over there, but, like, I need to obviously do things. Like I mentioned, I have to, like, fix the UI on certain platforms and test things and different things. So, like, I needed a way to do the ports, but here's the problem. I don't have Visual Studio installed, and I don't want to. And I don't have, like, the way Unreal is set up is you actually have the engine, and then you have the game, and those are separate concepts, right? And so I actually don't have the source code for the engine installed at all, which you need to compile against in order to compile for the different platforms. So we kind of, like, worked out a thing where he set this up in an hour before he got on a plane to E3, and it just works. But every time I check something into Perforce, he has a bot on his end that, like, checks for updates every 5 minutes, and if there's been an update from me, it'll, like, kick out a build to all the different SKUs and then upload them to a G drive, and then I just download them, and I have, like, the different, what do you call them, device managers and shit, so I can just run he's a batch file, I just double click, it's super stupid, and it just runs on whatever SKU I need it to run on. Anyway, that does, however, add a lag, so every time I want to, like, change something for us, like I want to test a thing, I have to wait somewhere between 0 to 5 minutes for the build bot to notice there was a change after I've checked into Perforce, and I have to wait for it to compile. So it's gonna be like 10 minutes or so, and get uploaded into the drive. So it does mean, like, there's a pretty, I don't have to make too many changes really, but if I did have to test things on console a lot, I don't think this would be tenable. It means there's a very long lag here. We can just put this in the background. Oh yeah, I haven't posted anything in the Discord in an age. In, like, Chris Slight's Discord. That's my bad worry. I should install Visual Studio one day? Probably. I did have to install it at one point. I should tell Elle more about that. Because I need a plugin to get the audio to sync for the new audio engine. Because I'm relying on their new audio engine to get all the different stems to sync together and shit. And I think he didn't activate that plugin. I need to make a note about that. And that's why I think the music is not syncing on other SKUs. But we'll see. I'll turn this down just a bit. So... For the engine, yeah, I'm not on the latest one. Credits for an engine? Holy shit, they have credits for an engine. Anyway, yeah, I'm on 4.21.2. Did I save nothing? Huh. I'm not even sure I want to do that. How do you... So the reason you exist is so that there's a socket, the attach point. And what I need is for that to animate. Is that right? No, that's not it. Extremity socket. So here's my hack, I think. This is only going to be an issue if Rue was standing on her feet, so this will be pretty simple. I only really noticed it on her. Yeah, I'm not updating the engine. This goes to launch for no reason. The audio is working. I just need him to activate the plugin so that it works on all SKUs. I gotta remember to tell him to do that because he can't read my mind. Let's see here. It's not getting very real, guys. This is not what I need, I think. I think what we need. So. Bullshit. Interesting. Uh-oh. So I don't have live references here. Okay. At some point I imported everything. Well, I'm not going to keep doing that. Or, oh, they're here. I get it. Okay. Fine. Wow. I did a good job when I wrote that tool. Some real pro bullshit right there. Let's, No, you're only going to find Maya files. That's right. File. Import. Okay, so I kind of got this dummy rig. Player appendages. Nothing. Okay, so this is just a dummy that exists for the purposes of making sure the attachments work at all. Okay, cool. I'm going to save you as a Maya file. Then we'll go back into the other thing. Yeah, I didn't go to E3 Ninja. How do I keep my Maya scene organized? I would argue that I probably don't. The namespaces are important just because my tool structure relies on namespaces in order. Like, I wrote these tools a long time ago. I love them. It allows me to have multiple. There's times when I need to have multiple characters in a scene that are doing complicated things. I want to have clips, and I want to be able to copy animation from one character to another. And just over the years, I've written so many tools. Eventually, I stopped and I combined them into a system that largely. Also, I wrote my own auto rigger at some point. I used to work entirely in animation tool stuff, right, for a couple of years. So I became extremely opinionated about it and wrote a bunch of tools that use it. And because of that, this scene, the longer I'm indie, the less I give a shit about this. This stuff matters a lot more with bigger scenes with lots of characters, or when you're passing files between lots of people and things. But I do still use certain things like the scene manager, and I could show you some of the bigger cinematic files and stuff where you'll see the namespaces kind of delineate this is a character, this is what's attached to the character, and how you export different things and so forth. But that all happens automatically, and the truth is I pretty much, by the time I'm in an animation file, I never drill down into this for the most part, unless something's wrong technically or I'm doing something weird. I'm pretty much just animating right here in the viewport. But right now, so like this is how I usually bring in a scene. What it's going to do is each character will be like, how do I put it? So this is more important when you have things like, say you want to make a game where you have customization, and you want to have a character and you want to check how does this character work with these shoulder pads, these things. And so I needed to make a system where you could have that concept of a character and you could rip off a skeletal mesh and put a different one on, right? Or you could put different static props in their hands. Or in the case of this game, I used to just have right hand and left hand. I had socket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the 6 faces. And this is just like adding a rigged prop, which is a Maya file, to one of the 6 sides of a character, which these characters are cubes. So I just hard-coded that. And what this will do is it'll reference in the file to a specific namespace, and it'll attach it using just, I hard-coded in code where it's going to attach. And I did that specifically so that like when what's happening in the Maya file will always be what's happening in Engine. And this is just kind of a habit I got into because like I don't want the animators to set up a file and then see something unexpected in Engine. I just always like, however I decide to attach things in Engine for a scene, I just set it up so that it attaches the same way in Maya, so they can make their own scene files and do whatever they want, and it'll work the same way in Maya as it does in Engine. Yeah, this is actually, like, I could give talks. I used to give talks about this. This is like, this was my life for a long time, was coming up with pipelines for outsourcing, for mocap, for large external teams, for animators, making tools for animators. A lot of the times the things that animators need and the things that people focus on, like I never really went to a lot of the tech art roundtables because I felt like a lot of tech artists tend to focus on things that are kind of cool, but are largely unimportant. And a lot of what animators need are just really simple ways to do the things they do all the time, which is really not sexy, but it's like you can make everyone's life so much easier if you just hard code certain things so that what happens in the source file is what happens in Engine, or you know, make it so that clicking, you shouldn't need to think. You should be able to say, I want to export this frame range, like this frame range on this character, on this skeletal mesh, and I want to name it this, go. Like, and it should just happen, and you should be able to export all of the characters in a scene with one button click, like, and your exporting should be fast. Like, these are simple things you do every day, the things you really need to make good. Isn't Maya Z forward? I set up Z up by default just because I found I didn't have to, but I switched my entire system over to that when I went to Irrational because we were a split studio. Like some people were 3ds Max and some people were Maya. And I found it was better to keep Z up, and the Unreal Engine is Z up. So I went Z up, though it is still a pain in the ass because like you can easily, like it's a setting to change in Maya if you're Z up or Y up, but you can't change left-handed or right-handed. And Maya and Max are different from the Unreal Engine in that way. Yeah, mostly it's about limiting that sort of thing. I mean, I don't want to say like that's wrong. I'll tell you times, like, especially early in my career, I was really, really excited about making cool tools. Things like I really wanted to solve the problem of auto clavicles. Here, this is fun. Fuck it, let's have some fun. I'll show you some shit. I haven't even done anything here yet. That's fine. What's a character? Something that won't break NDA from anybody. I mean, there's loads of shit here. Ooh, I could technically show you everything from Gazillion because they're no longer a company. Haha. Who's gonna sue me? They don't exist. Let's go to my old drive. This is not SSD. So I can go back in the day. So I can't show you Psychonauts. Double Fine is still around, and they have Microsoft dollars now, so they can sue me into death. Let's see. Oh, Irrational Blur too. Oh, I forgot about this. So a friend of mine at Irrational, it was after Bioshock shipped, and we were talking about how Blur isn't shit. We could do better trailers than Blur if we wanted to. So we started up Project Blur 2, and we were like gonna make an animated short using the bouncer, and he modeled it and I rigged it. Let me see. We never got around to doing this. We got busy again. But we were like, no, we're gonna start a cinematics department in this fucking company. You and me, and we'll find an animator. Yeah, this is the rig from back there. That's right. I forgot we did this. He's working over at in LA now. Because by the time I didn't get to rig any of the characters on Bioshock Infinite, I was always in the engine. The characters were rigged before I got there. And the rigs were shit. And I was like, yo, let me show you what a rig could be. And all the animators knew I could do that. So we were excited. We were like, let's do this. Let me show you what a biped rig should look like. I'm gonna get this motherfucker out here. So I still have... This might not work anymore for this character, because this is pretty old. Does this work? No. Yeah. Well, he's not referenced in, though. Could work. Let me see if I have the autoclave here. This was something I was obsessed with, and it was stupid of me. No, I have space switching. I've given up on autoclave by this point in my career. I have to go back in time. No, this was from this wasn't in anything. This was made for fun by the people. The guy that modeled this was modeling we'd finished up Infinite. We didn't even know that what we were doing for DLC yet. We just decided, for reasons of hubris, he modeled this for fun, and then I rigged it for fun. We had a good time at Irrational. Let me find... That was not in part of anything. Let me see. What can I find for you? Where's Marvel Heroes? Do I have that? Oh, Ming W. That was when I thought I was going to be a programmer. That was a mistake. What else do we got here? Oh, that's right. The studio was named something different back then. Alright, Captain. Let's see if this still works. Oh, Jesus. That's right. Yeah, this is going to be Y up too. We're going for something more cartoony. This was clearly final art right here, guys. Yeah, this is our first... Like, what is this character going to look like? Oh god, this rig is so old. I remember this. Oh, yeah. I was playing around with the idea of invisible controls. That was also something nobody wanted. Well, I mean, eventually it became something... Like, I still kind of used something similar. What did I end up doing here? So I wanted, for a long time early in my career, I thought it was important to come up with a way. I was like, why do animators always have to animate the clavicle? We should be doing that automatically. Crap, and you don't have one either, do you? Switches? No. I had given up at this point, too. How far back do I have to go to find that mistake? Guess I got over that pretty quickly. When was this? I don't know. This was when I started on Marvel Heroes, this was actually a character. This one was before we had a team at Marvel Heroes. It was the art director and me fucking around. We didn't know what we were doing yet, and he was playing around with proportions, and I was playing around with rig stuff. Let's go further back. Do I have my college stuff? Holy shit. I don't know if we want to go that far back. This won't be it. How about... college shaders. Shipwreck. I don't remember. I do remember, but that's not. That won't have any humanoid characters. Where's like there's an indie game. Oh yeah, there we go. So my one friend wanted to make a game he called Zombie Pirate Ninja Robot in Hell. And he commissioned me to make some rigs for it, and then never shipped that game. So this is... Oopsies. It's a character from a game that never shipped. Looks like you're supposed to be Y up. Supposed to be Z up? Z up you are, okay. Oh god, where are you? No. Ah! Come back. Okay, maybe you're not Z up. Maybe you're Z up, but I need to reload the file. I mean, these days I still use the invisible controls. Yeah, see the autoclav? Here it's especially special because the little bird's on it. So I was like, I'm going to solve the problem of clavicles. I'm going to make auto clavicles, and the animator's never going to have to animate the clavicle again. They'll just animate the arm. Look at how shittily that worked. First off, no, I never did solve that very well. And also, no animator wants that. That's part of how you express yourself. Like, your shoulders are part of the motion. You can't automate that any more than you can automate anything else. It was a stupid idea. And I was obsessed with it for a really long time. For, like, no reason. I was obsessed with all the wrong things back then. It wasn't about making people's lives easier in very simple ways. It was about, like, cool stuff, you know? It's hard to explain. And then I animated more and more, and I stopped caring about cool stuff, and I cared more about cool stuff that's actually an engine that people actually see, rather than making pristine tools that don't matter. That nobody really wants. Yeah, this was... How early in my career was this? This was like... While I was working at Slipgate, so... No. This is like 1 year into the industry. I was making this guy. This was like a weekend job. I wish everybody would settle on Y up right-handed coordinates. I don't know, man. Well, the thing is, it's Z up mostly because of architectural reasons, right? Like everybody, that's legacy from CAD and shit. I don't know if we'll settle on Y up. I wouldn't mind if we had a standard. I'm not sure if Y up would be the right one. Alt and home to reset the camera. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah. I mean, Naughty Dog just has such a completely different pipeline from everything I've ever done. I worked briefly with mocap at Irrational, but it was nowhere near the same... Like, nowhere near the kind of capture that they do at Naughty Dog. They care about performance capture. We just had, like... You know... I mean... Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Like, their mocap pipeline is intense. Yeah, this is when I first started experimenting with the idea that controls should go away and maybe you can animate with invisible controls. That wound up staying. In general, I pushed really hard on the idea that you should always have NURBS curves or surfaces that you can grab rather than traditional curves, because I just want to see the character when I'm animating. I hadn't quite figured out the ideal spine solution yet, you can see. I think I got better. I make better humans now than I used to. I remember the first time I rigged Captain America, I rigged him... How do I put it? I put the pivot for his pelvis slightly too high and different things of that nature. And so when the animators tried to animate him, they had a very difficult time. How do I put it? There's no polite way to put this. I rigged him like a woman. And so when they, Like, I didn't have the skeletal structure, right? And so when they animated him, they had to work hard to make him not kind of flouncy and stuff. He wound up, we had to do some heavy rework. I learned a lot in my career. After a couple of years, I took there was some learning on the job. But it turns out you can rig a character such that they naturally walk very, very gay. Like, it turns out that is actually doable. I did it. I definitely rigged him in a certain way. It turns out your rig can very much change the motion of a character. And that was something I didn't realize how true that was until I did it wrong many times. Which, I mean, in hindsight, it's kind of obvious that you could have done that. Anyway. It's not... It's just if you put the pivots at a certain point, then a very small amount of rotation will result in a large swing, right? Or there's just certain things you can do. And the reality is there's certain things like where you put the... if you put the spine in an anatomically correct location towards the back of a character, then when you rotate the spine backwards, you'll get a lot of... like, so if you have the spine in the back of a character, right, then when you rotate back, you'll get a lot more stretching here. When you rotate forward, because the way that works, you'll get just way more compression. And you actually don't want the bones in your rig to map to where the bones are in the human body, because the bones don't represent the bones, they represent the pivot points of the motion. And so you'll get collapsing because your bones aren't just bones. Usually you're representing what your skin is going to be like a combination of bones and muscles and all the other things that are inside of you, right? And so you have to stop thinking about putting bones, even though they're called bones, where bones are, and start thinking about where are the actual pivots for the motion. And I think that was just something I missed early on. Yeah, I mean, you have to, if you're going to, yes, rigging, I think if you want to be a rigger, you have to understand anatomy very well. And if you want to be an animator, you should probably have some kind of physical hobby or be into acting or something like that. Like, I just think you can't understand motion unless you understand a certain amount about how the human body moves. If you're going to animate humans, at least, right? I think that's important. But yeah. And I mean, there's different strategies to that, right? Abandoned sheep, like you can... So when I rig fingers, I'll put the bones on the outer edge of the finger rather than in the middle of the mass, because I want that collapsing, right? Like I want that fleshy bit where the finger collapses. It just creates a sharper point. A lot of this has to, I also often, at this point, like I'll just read topo characters to get a certain kind of effect I want, because you can get a lot better deformation with fewer triangles if you know what you're doing, specifically with fingers. But like you don't always think of it as the bones go in the center of the mass. Like sometimes, usually they do, but a lot of times it's just where do you want things to pivot around, and where do you want the, how do I put this? Where do you want the mesh to stay the most stable? If you put it near the bottom root lancer, then what you'll get is a lot of, yes, this will be the most stable part, but you actually don't want this to be the most stable part, right? Because then you're going to have a serious amount of stretching along the knuckle, which will create a weird rounded knuckle. And generally, when you care about a fist or any kind of motion with the hands, what you care about a lot more is the silhouette of the outside of the finger. So you actually don't care about what the fleshy bits inside do. That's usually just kind of hiding somewhere, right? Yeah. Thanks for the sub, Chuaza. It's good to see you, man. Yup. What were other things I learned? There's a lot of little things. The most useful rigging thing I learned was, actually I figured this out in college, and it saved me so much time over the years. I wish everybody did this. It's the idea of, I put it. When you make a stretchy character, like a stretchy limb, the way that most IK systems work, if you look under the hood, is they'll say, keep the limb at a certain length, like 10, and then, I'm sorry. So an IK will look at a limb, like say this is a leg, right? An IK will look at the leg and it'll add up the length of the bone, of the two bones that make up the leg. And it'll say, okay, once my hip, measure the distance from my hip to my ankle. And if that is greater than the length of the two bones that make up the leg, then scale, right? Then stretch. And so what you'll end up with is the limb will remain at a scale of 1 until a certain point, and then it will suddenly start scaling, right? So you get this kind of harsh point if you were to graph out what happens. So say you get like, let me open up a character I did for the Flame of the Flood. What was the code name for that project? I think we called it River. Nothing here is called... I think that's the problem. Nothing here is... The studio names I worked out were changed and the names of the projects changed. So everything's in crazy-ass folders. Where is it? Maybe I can find any humanoid character. Get me any humanoid character that I've made ever that's not under NDA. Can't do that one. I wonder if I could show you Raz. Do you think they get mad at me? They'll get mad at me. Don't do that. Can't show you that. I hate this industry sometimes because we're not allowed to just show things. Batrider. The hell is this? Oh yeah, I cracked open League of Legends and like rigged characters for no reason. So okay, that's fine. That's a thing I did once for fun. So here's a problem. So see how like this pops? You can see how, you can kind of see like the harsh, there's a kind of harshness. There's a kind of pop. When animators talk about needing to fix the pops in their knees, this is what they're usually talking about. Like if a character, let me give you a better example. Like say you're here. There's kind of like a weird harsh pop there when you go from scaling to not scaling. And that'll exist, and you'll have to work pretty hard to kind of, an animator will often kind of like try to move things to kind of fix that pop and so forth. So what you want to do is basically set up your IK in such a way where you smooth this out, where there's like a point at which you start scaling well before you hit the max extent of the leg. And I think one of the things I did in college was I rewrote an IK system that would do that. And I think that saved me so much time over my career. It's like difficult to explain how much time it has saved me. I hope to God it exists in this one. Otherwise I'm going to describe this for like no reason. Leg, soft and stretch. Okay, so this is the left leg. And so what I usually do if I'm in a professional studio is I'll set this variable on all of the rigs, and then no matter what, the legs can't pop. And it's usually like set a little bit based on flavor or the length of the limb or whatever. And all it's doing is it's basically adding a slight, it's starting to scale the leg before it reaches max extent and kind of easing a curve back into the stretch. Be reskinning and modeling the cat in my game at some point. Cool. Cats are interesting because they're basically like flesh soup. right? Like that's actually difficult, because they definitely have mass that moves in certain ways. I really feel like it's rare you see a good cat rig in games because they usually just rig them to be very, like, it works if you have like a kind of emaciated cat, but actual cats can like just turn into some sort of flesh goo. I'd have to think about how to do that properly. Like if you wanted to do an actual cat that could like spread out and shit, that'd be fun. Tim Schafer seems really down to earth. Show us Raz. No, I'm not gonna just do that. Don't want to get in trouble. The cat from the Toy Story 4 trailer. I don't know if I've seen that one recently. But yeah, I don't think I'm the first one to come up with that idea. I'll say that. Somebody tweeted at me, there's no audio on your stream. Sorry, Robert. I apologize. I suck. Thinking I should take an approach like Richard Lyko did with the Mouse and Moss. Yeah, spongy joints. Yeah, he's cool. His work is definitely worth following. That's a lot more springy characters. I mean, if I recall, a lot of his work was done after the fact, though, right? Like, he would animate it, and then he would run a thing that would add an additive layer that kind of, like, added bounce to the hips and things, so that Moss always kind of had, like, a spring running in him at all times. And, I mean, my inclination, because I'm me, would be to take that same idea and just toss it into the engine. Like, whenever possible, you want to take that shit and toss it into the engine and see if you can just... That's the kind of thing that'll be really good at covering up transitions between states and transitions between animations and that sort of thing. And if you're already using an engine that has the ability to do like springs and physics and shit, like Unreal, like you might as well take advantage of the power you have there, right? Though I'm not sure if they were using Unreal or not. Anyway, yeah, I would be more tempted to throw that into the engine. Anytime you can handle dynamic overlapping motion in the engine, it always covers up a lot of stuff. Yes, like cloaks and games covering, yep. Cloaks are a good one. I have a lot of opinions about cloaks. I did work on a game with superheroes at one point. I spent some time thinking about it. I actually spent a lot of time thinking about cloth in general, because like I did, my first job at Irrational, I think, was like figuring out how we were going to do Liz's skirt, kinda. Mostly NVIDIA did that, but like, the reason I got that was because I spent a lot of time thinking about capes and how... I mean, the biggest thing you want to do with cloth to keep it as simple as possible is you want to handle the... let me grab cloth. What do I have? Alright, here we go. So... things like capes and... this is a dirty towel rag, sorry. But like, capes and things, they'll hang and cloth kind of hangs, right? And so what you need to do is in game you want to have that idea that something can stretch. God damn it, how do I explain this? So I think a lot of people, if you think about it like you would film technique stuff, you would just model all the polys for the cloth and it'd be a very high poly thing. And then you could run a dynamic simulation in game that will kind of like have the cloth kind of spread out and stuff. But I find that looks really flat because what happens is in game you'll never, no matter how perfect you are, even if you have like a million fucking triangles, you'll never get that anything to drape properly. And you need the ability to kind of just have stretch in one direction for cloth. So like if a cape is hanging down off of a character, you know, like you're gonna need to model this having some kind of overlap, and you're going to need to actually have that mesh stretch and the topology stretch in one what do you call it, like, you know how if you have quads there's going to be two different kinds of edge loops, one's going like vertical and one's horizontal and vertical. You want the horizontal, you want the cloth to be able to stretch usually in one dimension, and that's something that most dynamic solutions in game don't tackle very well. It's one of the things I liked about Apex was that they immediately understood that and were working on that for Apex to make sure that they could separate out the different directions the edge loops were going and say, okay, the vertical edge loops do not stretch, but the horizontal ones you can stretch. And that actually added a lot of believability to the cloth. You've been looking for a cloak expert. Well, you found one, stay thirsty. I've put too much thought into this. It was especially true for Liz's skirt. Liz's skirt, so the bullshit, I can go into this crap. Yeah, that's... Spider-Man was gorgeous in so many ways. Whatever. Soapboxing about cloth is over. We're done. Moment over. What were we doing? Okay. Why did I do this again? What experiment was I thinking about? Because I don't usually just rig something for no reason. Weird. I haven't messed with it since Irrational Sandbats. So I haven't, like, I was there, if you're talking about Apex cloth, like if that's, I'm pretty sure that's still what they use in Unreal. Yeah, we were on that in the beta. That's how we did Liz's skirt in Bioshock. And loads of other things. And in fact, we did it right. Like, most of the original Apex, a lot of the early cloth dev stuff that they did, like NVIDIA and the different people did, they cheated. They added a slit to every skirt. Even the pants had slits. It's a lot easier if you add slits to things. It's when you need a consistent, like the skirt went around her and did not have a slit. And so there was, if she spread her legs too far apart and the sim wasn't capable of stretching the cloth, then it would simply break through her legs, right? So, and we were not budging on that for reasons. I don't know why. Because I think when you have Ken Levine money, you can just be like, we're not bending on this, make it happen. And NVIDIA will be like, okay. Though I don't think we paid NVIDIA. They just kind of helped us for no reason. I don't know. I miss AAA sometimes. I miss that general, like, there is no concept of budget. There is only, nothing matters if we have a hit, and obviously we're going to make a hit. Let's just do this and let's do it right. And I miss, like, you become so specialized at certain times. You're like, I will be the person that completely understands shoulder deformation. Like, there was the person who figured out, it's like, all right, Lara Croft in Tomb Raider is going to wear a tank top, which means, and you're mostly going to be see her from behind, so we're going to have the world's best shoulder, scapula, back situation. And I'm going to study everything there is to know about the muscles behind that, and I'm going to run a muscle system under here, and I'm going to experiment with all the different ways to make this deformation perfect. And there's a human being out there that, like, spent 3 months of his life on the shoulders of a character, right? Like, I miss that kind of insanity. That was always kind of fun. The BioWare approach with Anthem will make it great because we have magic. Yeah. Man, I miss I want, like, I think the dream is to one day have what Ken Levine has, where you can just be like, look, I'm gonna make something that's gonna be gold. You're gonna give me as much money and time as I ask for. Deal with it, and if Take-Two's just kind of like, yeah, all right, we will. Yeah, that seems right. He, like, I want his life. It sounds great. He is good though. He pulls it off. There's a reason why they give him all the bandwidth. And to be fair, it's got to be a little bit scary because the second you put out something that's not a hit, you lose that, right? So I suppose there's two sides to that. Ditto with Kojima. Yeah, we'll see. Kojima's definitely going for it, man. Yeah, I wonder what it's like to be him. I just don't know enough about that story. I don't get the reference, Ninja. Oh, yeah. The reason I was thinking about this was because I haven't finished reading this yet. I started reading it, but it's very verbose. From what I can tell, Strauss waxed philosophical on everything from... It was like Strauss sat down and thought, all right, what's going to get me in the press? Talking about unions, talking about next gen, shitting on E3. And then he just went through and hit that list one thing at a time. But I haven't finished reading it yet, so I don't have any hot takes. Wait, I lost Twitch. Where's Twitch? There's Twitch. Oh, Kingdom Hearts 3, yeah. Let's make video games. It's why we're here. Is it why we're here? Why are we here? Well, all right. Okay, so obviously this doesn't have any of the things. So what I'm going to do is not stress about that. We're going to hook this up manually. Because in game what's happening is this rig is attached to this skeletal mesh. So, I'm going to simulate that in engine. Or sorry, in the source control. So this rig is attached to this mesh in game. Okay. And this is stationary in game. Because I think if you scrub the timeline, you'll see, yeah, that bone always stays stationary. So what I want to do is strain parent, not the rotation, only the translation. Oops, and I don't want it to snap. And I want to export that. Where did you go? There's nothing that's correct. I'm gonna call it head dummy, proxy head, head dummy, head dummy. Sure, fuck it. I'm gonna need to rename this. need to check this out. Source control. See, if I was a real... I don't have source control. There we go. If I was still a tech artist, I'd have this set up by now, so if you save, it just automatically checks it out source control. If I was working in a studio, there would be so many little nice things. That's the kind of shit you need. When somebody hits control S to save, if it's not checked out, it should just prompt you to check it out as source control. And then you should be able to do it from right within Maya. Like, that's the kind of stuff I usually... Like, the first things you get done in a studio are things like that, because they just speed up workflow so much. But when it's just me working on my own, I'm like, never gonna... You don't do the nice things for yourself. Why is that? So, what are we right now? Animation? No. Player, animation, piano, dancing. Later, abandoned sheep. Damn. Get the fuck out of here, man. What's up? How are things going with you? It's 9:30 p.m. You better not be at work. It's gonna be another angry article in the press. Keanu leaves. Oh, I hate you. Alright. Puns are the lowest form of humor. You missed it, Dan. I went down memory lane a minute ago. Wait a minute. The fuck? I don't know why I keep calling you Dan. Tim. Excuse me. I'm having a case of being real brain dumb right now. Mother. Okay. We're home. If Keanu gets a lung transplant. Oh, stop it, Tim. Ugh. Are you going to Gamescom? Oh, I was just showing off some stuff from back in the day. Like, side projects from over the years and things. Not sure. You going to PAX West? My goal is to go to those two things. We'll see if I get into this stuff. But I think no matter... Like, I'm hopeful. I'm highly confident I will at least go to PAX Prime. In some capacity. Gamescom 2, hopefully. You want to do West, but I have to figure everything out. We have SIGGRAPH coming up. You guys go to SIGGRAPH? Yeah. That makes sense. You guys do a lot there, I bet. I know, like, Fortnite's definitely going to Gamescom and stuff. I imagine Fortnite's going to PAX too. Do you go with the Fortnite stuff, or do you only ever go with the engine stuff? Yeah, I shouldn't drink soda this late. Enough, Ninja. Let it die. He was done. You only go with the engine stuff. Alright. Yeah, they don't have like a bucking bronco thing for the engine stuff though, Tim. You need a mascot. That's the real problem here. Or you need like... yeah. How'd I put it? As somebody who's launching a game into the Epic Game Store, I feel like you could also have like a booth for just the Epic Game Store games. I don't know. Because because I think technically when I went to the GDC thing, that was because I was using the Unreal Engine. Like, that was the Unreal Engine team, right? And I know, like, there's definitely a different group for Fortnite, but what if there's also, like, a space just for the games in the Epic Games Store? Just, I don't know. Just saying that's a thing to think about. Probably not. That's fine. I appreciate your support. Never mind. I'll shut up. I guess it would be a little bit unprecedented because Steam doesn't do that. Yeah. Oh, you don't think... So... Because you handle the streaming, yeah, I guess you're just only focused on the engine. Yeah, that makes sense. Because, I mean, what are you going to stream about the games on the game store? So you focus on the engine, specifically social media. Interesting. I kind of want to have someone like you on the podcast at some point to talk about how social media is destroying society. That's the alpha and omega of it, basically. Like, how are you doing? Have you lost your mind? How have you not lost your mind? Are you concerned that the rest of the world is losing their mind? Yeah, maybe. I have to, I'm trying to cool it on the having guests in the podcast for a while, because I don't think Chris Light liked it very much. Well, I know he didn't like it very much. We're gonna do a couple of episodes until he gets bored doing it, and then I'll be like, hey, why don't we go back to you being... Are you bored? Social media is the antithesis of social. It's weird. Like, I feel like I crave it until I don't have access to it, and I don't. I don't know how to explain it. Like, if you're just not on social media, the world keeps spinning. You know, the crazy thing to me is, like... So every now and then I hang out with normal people. It's rare, to be honest. Like... I mean, like, completely normal people. Because there's people... Everyone I hang out with is either in the games industry... Well, yeah, they're in the games industry in some capacity, right? I don't know people that aren't, for the most part. But every now and then I hang out with somebody who's like, I don't play video games. Like, because I'm at a barbecue with my significant other or something. And there's no gamers there. And it's super weird, and there's nothing to talk about. And they're just like... Twitter doesn't exist for them. They're like, oh yeah, I'm not on Twitter, and I deleted my Facebook. Sometimes I see things on Instagram, and it's just, I can't... It's like they live on a totally different planet. And I know I live on the internet too much, but I don't know how to explain it. I look at them like these beautiful aliens that have life figured out. I just want to be like, how? How did you get to where you are, and why are you not super bored? Yeah, well, house parties specifically at GDC with other game developers, that's kind of the pinnacle of, like, you're in a social group that is your tribe. Face to face. I think that's why a lot of my friends actually get really bummed after GDC. Because it takes so long to reach something like that again. Especially because so many of us work from home. How to put it? So having a week where you're constantly around other people that are similar to you, and that you can talk about, like, all the things you think about all the time, and, you know, you're part of your tribe, especially in a setting like that, which is perfect because it's kind of like if you're in a hotel party or like at somebody's home, like at one of those parties, it allows you to connect to people in a different way. I don't know. We should have a second GDC. There should be something similar on the other end of the year. Where would that be? Like September, March? Yeah, September. Spin it up. Make it an epic thing. Get a bunch of epic devs together. Down in Cary. Though I guess we have Gamescom, technically. Gamescom's been trying to become like GDC. And there, you get some of that at PAX. PAX Prime is interesting because it's so GDC is fun because I run into all the other game devs I know in AAA, but I have meaningful conversations with indies more often after hours at PAX, and there's something to like, especially if you've been showing your game all day or doing meetings all day and you're drained because you've been doing the business shit, and you're just like having a nice meal and like a coffee and ideally dessert. This is my fantasy, alright, fuck you. And like with a bunch of other developers that are indies that are kind of like going through the same kind of rough shit you are. That's a good time. You want a specifically drinking conference? There's too many people at GC. Oh yeah, Gamescom is a shit show in that way. I felt I was very alone at Gamescom when I went, but that was just because I didn't know anybody and I wasn't showing in the indie space. I'm hoping it's not that bad this year if I go, because I applied to be part of like there's an indie arena thing that I applied for that I'm hoping to get in. It's very special, Ninja. Yeah, I think the difference, GDC is more fun than PAX because people aren't drained, so you can have like interesting conversations about the nuts and bolts of game development stuff. But PAX is a better bonding experience because you're dead. And there's something about being in the trenches with somebody. And it's difficult to explain to normal people why PAX is so exhausting. There's just something about no matter what you're doing, you're on your feet talking all day to strangers. Just talking. Standing there talking. Doesn't matter if you're pitching your game, what you're doing. Like, and you're just in this warehouse where stimulus is like constant. It's hard to explain to people why it is so draining, but it's so fucking draining. Wednesday GDC was exhausting as fuck. To be fair, I go hard at GDC in certain ways, but Epic treats GDC like a bender. Like, there's a... You guys go hard at GDC, and you guys actually put up a pretty sweet booth each year. Oh, that's right, and you have all the keynotes and shit. Yeah, Epic goes hard at GDC. Yeah, so GDC, when I think of PAX, that's probably what you, like your experience at GDC, because you're actually showcasing stuff. I didn't think about that as a vendor. Yeah, that makes sense. E3 is, I've only gone to E3 once, Rootlancer. So I don't have a really good experience, like a depth of experience there, where I've gone to like, I'd have to count, I think 11 GDCs or something. I mean, there's a difference between the kinds of work you're doing though, right, Cal? Like at GDC, if I'm at GDC, I'm working, but usually I'm speaking like once or a couple times, and that's just a different kind of stress versus like working a booth. But yeah, now I think about it, every show you go at, you're literally working. And a lot of times you're running streaming stuff. Yeah. Went to E3 twice as media. PAX, you've always been showing a game or games. Yeah. Yeah. Come show Kine at Gamescom and PAX. We'll talk about it. Unreal Tech Talks. Yeah, I wonder, I feel like there's a stigma around the Tech Talks that are sponsored. Or I don't know if people get as into them. Like it might just be different. I don't know if there's popular stuff. Yeah, the stuff at your booth I think is interesting too, because that's cool because students can see it and shit. You know what big conference is coming up this weekend? Tim Slager. Game Dev World. That's this weekend, man. Rami's conference. Which has my name on it, though I have done like in aggregate maybe 6 hours of work for this conference. I came up with a template for the invoices and then invoiced people for money. And was moral support on a phone. Rami is handling like the entirety of this fucking conference. Yeah, it's entirely online. It's like, it's interesting. He took on some interesting challenges. Because, I mean, it's things that matter to Rami, right? Like, the translating into various languages, making sure that there's speakers all around the world, which is cool. Like, I think one of the things GDC does, like, we never hear from a lot of different speakers, specifically in, like, I think there's a lot of amazing game development done in Japan or in China, and I don't think we hear about it largely because the language barrier. And this lifts that, right? Like so it's a conference where every talk is translated into 8 different languages live. Like, he's bringing people on site, live translators are translating into 8 different languages, and they're translating the chat back so that the people in chat can ask questions to the speaker live. It's entirely online, entirely free. The images are not loading on the site. That's bad. But yeah, and he's really dedicated to doing a lot of things right. He he sees it as online conferences are an inevitability, so do it first and do certain things right. Like, make sure the translation is spotless and the conference is broadcast everywhere in the world and all these different things that they're very important to him, because he's like, now if somebody doesn't do it right, we for one thing, he's like kind of blazing a template for how to do it. And he's proving that it can be done pretty cost effectively. Dude's got an axe to grind, but I love it. Like, it's shaping up to be pretty cool. I got to peek at the schedule. Some of the talks are really cool. And the way he's doing it to keep it, like, how do I put it? So the way the logistics work for this is he got somebody, I forget who, to sponsor the laptops, and he sends a background banner to each of the speakers and a laptop with a mic set up and everything. So they just open the laptop and the software is loaded and they just start streaming, like, with the background there. Like, they just get ready that day and then start streaming. And he's figured out, like, the stream feeds into a central location where he has live translators translating it and stuff. It's going to be it's a conference freelancer. It's like something borrowed, something blue. There's going to be talks for programming, art, production. He wanted to avoid business because business tends to be very specific to different regions, which I think is smart. So there's no like specific business talks because a lot of advice for business is very regional. You want to attend the entire conference in VR? Yeah. Black Mirror situation. And I'm pretty sure you can just throw something up on a screen in VR. So I think you can have that dream, Tim, if that is in fact your dream. Yeah, I should have probably tweeted something about that, huh? You know, if people don't tell me to tweet things, I don't. Because I suck. For some reason. Which is alarming, because I do spend a lot of time on Twitter. Alright, I gotta prep. After Kine ships, I gotta start speaking again. You want to know more about this conference? Here, I'll just show you. If you join the mailing list, they'll mail it out. I should have probably mentioned on the podcast. You know, I'm a fucking terrible advisor. I'm on the website. They have a photo of me. I've done very little. It turns out being an advisor is extremely easy. I feel like I probably shouldn't have needed to be told to talk about this more. Probably should have just occurred to me. I'm probably the one that was supposed to advise people to do that. Alright, it's getting very warm in here. So I think I'm going to take off. And I'm going to try to stream one more time before I leave on vacation. So I promise to... Well, no promises. But I'm leaving for vacation on Monday. I should stream before I go. Hold me to that. Because I've definitely been slacking on the streaming lately. Oh, we talked about earlier, Tim. I'm going to Glastonbury out in the UK for a week. Party in the mud. Hell yeah, man. This is gonna be fun. Oh, you're taking 2 weeks off as well. Oh, that's right. Epic shuts down for 2 weeks. I forgot about that. You guys shut down at the end of, like... You have some kind of fucking summer break for 2 weeks, right? What happens if shit goes wrong, like in Fortnite? It's weird that you also do it around Christmas. Does that make sense? What year is it? It's June. Yeah, so you do it now and then probably again at Christmas. They have people on call. Cool. I forgot about that. That's kind of cool. So you guys have like a... Yeah, so you have 2 weeks around Christmas and 2 weeks in the summer. So you get a month off, like just built in no matter what, and then you get PTO on top of that. Oh, this is the first time you're doing one over the summer. I think shutting down for most of December is pretty standard in this industry. Like, I think every studio I've worked at pretty much did that. They don't make you use your PTO for like the last 2 weeks of December. You have unlimited PTO, which is the same thing as having no PTO in my experience. It's unlimited, but nobody will ever take it, right? That's the trick. It's unlimited, but if you use it, people will look at you sideways. I don't know if Epic's actually like that. That was my experience in Silicon Valley. Dude, you guys are talking about PTO. I can't even keep the days of the week straight anymore. Days of the week have no meaning. There's nothing that anchors me at any given time. I wake up every day and I work a certain amount. It's actually kind of sustainable at this point, though. I feel like I've hit a kind of good stride with it. I don't feel like I've hit a wall of burnt out yet, but I'm sure that's coming. I have started taking more breaks lately. I think I'm less scared. So I'm playing games again. Your HR will give you shit if you don't take time off. I wake up with the sun, stay thirsty. That's a lame thing to say, but it's unfortunately true and frequently against my will. So no matter what, like, the sun will come up at 6 tomorrow and I will be awake, even if I don't want to be. Even if I've gone to sleep at 2. So in the winter I sleep in way more, and in the summer I get up way too early. What am I playing lately? The last thing I played... I was into Slay the Spire for a bit. That game was really good. I wanted a tactics game, so I downloaded something. It's alright. I don't know if I was just not into it. What the hell is this? Oh. There's certain games I play because like I have to evaluate them for reasons. There's a game... I haven't judged it yet. I've only played it like an hour. It's called Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark. I just really wanted a tactics game. Kind of really looking forward to the Romeros are making like a kind of XCOM like game, but like set with like a Chicago gangster style theme. That looks awesome. Like that looks like the kind of game I want badly. More Civ? No, I haven't got back into Civ. I'm not. There's no coming back from that. You always wake up at 6 a.m. no matter what time you sleep. Yeah. I haven't fallen into one again recently. I might not be letting myself. I'm playing some of the little games on the, like the puzzle Discord. Done a couple of those. What is this one? Oh, yeah. Shit, I should go back and finish. There's some extra content after the end of Pipe Push Paradise I never did. Gotta go back and do that. I got into Snakebird, but I only played it for 80 minutes. I didn't get that far. I think that's just gonna be another one that I like pick up and put down a lot. I don't know. Sometimes I'm looking for one that I sink into for a while. Slay the Spire was good, but it's been a while since I've had one that I've like... It's not good enough. I don't know what I need right now. I'll know it when I have it. But most likely, the other problem is I can't sink into a game right now because I'm supposed to be crunching. So something like Slay the Spire that you can get into and out of is more ideal. You want a lean-back game with a great online community. What in the world are you trying? Oh, I fucking loved Invisible Ink when that came out, Real Answer. I was really bummed about that. That was one of the, like... when I first started doing this, one of the reasons why the Molasses Flood didn't want to pick up this project and why, like... I got a lot of feedback that grid-based puzzle games are a terrible idea that never make money. It's one of the main points was actually Invisible Ink. It was probably Clay's least performing title. But it's also my favorite title that they made, so I'm kind of sad about that. I find it funny. I feel like there was a shift. Like for years, all we've been hearing, for a while, all the talks were indie-pocalypse, and then how we need to be better about business, and then like in the last 2 years, if you watch like Clark Tank and you're like in a certain club, it's been all about highly replayable roguelike multiplayer, do the thing that'll get you the most money on Steam and so forth. And then the content war started and all these platforms came out and needed content, and I think anybody that was making anything unique that wasn't that was in a much better position. So it's luck, but like if I was making a highly replayable roguelike, whatever the fuck, I don't think I would have gotten the Epic Game deal, right? Yes, I loved Invisible Ink. I thought it was great. In general, I appreciate like Clay's attention to detail in 2D animation. Another one that does that really well is what was that game I played? Also a tactics game, Banner Saga. Those guys are definitely dedicated to like 2D animation that looks beautiful in a kind of tactics game. I appreciate that quite a bit. Remember when modability was a sales pitch? Yeah. I think the prevailing wisdom for a while though has been that that's not quite as worth it. Though who knows? Like, and the thing is, the tune has changed all of a sudden. I find it funny that suddenly there's a lot of money in the market and then everybody's talking very differently. Now everybody's like an artist again or whatever the hell. Or Ichiro was here talking about like the most important thing is to make a good game over all else, and I was like, 2 years ago we were singing different songs, buddy. I don't know. It changes over time. I think there's just something to being contrarian and just doing stuff that other people aren't doing. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. I liked Banner Saga. I felt like there wasn't as much depth in the combat as I'm used to. I really do feel that, in all seriousness, when it comes down to tactical RPGs, Japan is kicking our ass and has forever. Like, XCOM is a different flavor of game than, like, Final Fantasy Tactics and those. And in general, what I was hoping for when I downloaded... This is the wrong thing. I'm looking for Steam. When I downloaded Fell Seal, Arbiter's Mark. Like, what I was looking for was something that has the kind of depth that you would see in like a Japanese tactics game, where you've got like, this is a character that can only attack a grid tile that's 2 tiles away, and this is, and the positioning and making sure that these 2 characters have stronger attacks when they're next to each other, and just like all of the combinatorics that go into like Disgaea and Final Fantasy Tactics and the way you would think when you're playing those games. Like, we just don't have that. XCOM is way more about like, move a character, is the cover height right? You know, it's just a different kind of game. I didn't sink into Massive Chalice. I don't know if that one had the depth either. But Banner Saga had the 1-2 punch of, I didn't think the depth was quite there. And I didn't think the, and it was just kind of like a game that, how'd I put it? I work a lot. I like my entertainment to be cheerful more often than not cheerful. That's like it's a heavy game. Heavy themes, a lot of dying, a lot of permadeath. Yes, yeah, Fire Emblem's a good one. Actually, shit, I never played Fire Emblem. I should play Fire Emblem. That's gonna be on my list. To remember why I didn't. I think I didn't have the particular system that came out on like something I didn't have or something. Massive Chalice. Why did I not get into that one? I don't know if it just also didn't have the depth. I do remember playing it though. One of the interesting ones, like I always felt like Nipponichi crushed it. Like Phantom Brave is weird. Phantom Brave is just such an unusual game. The way you don't even level up your characters, the maps matter more than your characters. I always found that one to be just super out there mechanically, and way ahead of its time, back when it came out. Or one that I think everybody knows now. Oh god, what's the one with the tanks and shit with like drawn art style? Fuck. I'm gonna have to look it up. Valkyria Chronicles, yeah. I liked Valkyria Chronicles. What I liked in that is something that I think the Romeros are going after in their game, which is the idea of, well, the Romeros are doing it more randomized, but I liked that there was personalities, and that as time went on, your characters, like, this character becomes a sadist and is like, and her everything down to her VO would change, and she'd get angry, and she had special buffs and shit. Like, I loved that about Valkyria Chronicles. It was really, I thought that was an interesting dynamic. It added like flavor to the game, and I think having that in a randomized way is interesting. If you read some of the stuff that the Romeros are talking about, I'm like way into grid-based games. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. So I was like all over that game when they announced it. Looking forward to that one. Another person doing one right now is Tom Francis. He's also doing something, I don't know where it falls in the line between tactics and like Invisible Ink kind of puzzle game, but somewhere in there. Looking forward to that one too. Yeah, at the time I thought the Valkyria Chronicles look was gorgeous, because that was actually back in like PS2, right, when that came out? That's the other thing. You always like the games that came out when you were younger and had more time to get into them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, and Bithel's doing a grid-based game, isn't he? With John Wick or whatever? That one looks like it's gonna be more XCOM though when I looked at it. Nothing against XCOM, just not quite the style I adore. Oh, crap. I got a lot of random shit to do this week, guys. Ugh, before I go. Yeah, I haven't found a Zelda game. I didn't grow up with Zelda. I think that's just the problem. Like, I definitely played Final Fantasy when I was a kid. Definitely played, like, I remember all the other Nintendo games. Like, I remember Donkey Kong and Mario and shit like that. But I didn't really look... Those were never as fun. I don't remember. I was pretty young back then. I think those weren't as fun because my brother was better at them than me. Might be the problem. Like the twitchy games my brother was always better at. But he'd have a game he was bad at and then I'd play it and I'd love it because, I don't know, when you're a kid you just want to be competitive for no reason. Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. The mind is a weird thing. Your memory kind of distorts shit. And you can justify a lot after the fact. So who knows? Alright, that's enough bullshit. I'm going to sleep. Or at least turning on the AC before I melt. Yeah, I'm sorry we don't like the same games, Ninja. Hopefully we can still be friends. Trying to think. It was mostly... Because it wasn't all strategy games. I feel like it mostly wasn't, right? Like, I definitely remember Final Fantasy VII being very special. No, it was mostly strategy games. I was way into StarCraft. Yeah. Okay, seriously, relents or I'm going to sleep. Sorry. Or leaving. Brushing my teeth. Something. I'm dizzy from too much heat. It's Golden Sun, a JRPG. I thought it was, but now I want to Google this. It looks like a JRPG. I don't know when this launched. Oh, that's right. I was waiting at Pokemon when I was a kid. Golden Sun looks a hell of a lot like an JRPG, so I'm going to say probably, based on the image. I didn't play it. No, I'll stream again before vacation. I should not be lazy. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Ooh, I'll host somebody. I can do that. We can... You guys will hang out with somebody else, right? Is there anybody you want me to host? Oh shit. Don't care if there's anybody you want me to host. I'm gonna host Lunoland. Let's hang out with them. Raid Lunoland. Alright, later guys. Do it.